We're joined today by Edmund Ainscough, Managing Director of Lunnon Metals. Ed, thanks for your time.
Perfect, David. Always a pleasure.
You're located in the St Ives Gold District of Western Australia. Why is this location so important?
Well, look, St Ives is Australia's best gold belt that you never hear about. And you don't hear about it because it sits inside goldfields. And I often say to investors at conferences like this one, if it sat inside Ramelius or Genesis or Northern Star, you'd hear so much more about St Ives. It's produced 300,000 ounces every year for the last 32 years, produced 116 million ounces to date, 170 million tonnes at 3 grams a tonne, but you never hear about it because it sits inside a foreign company. We've got 10% of that belt right in the very heart of the amazing St Ives gold camp. And we think it's underexplored. We think it's underexplored because it was a nickel belt for WMC, and when Goldfields bought the asset, they saw it as a nickel belt fundamentally. So there's very little bedrock drilling away from the nickel contact. So look, we're pretty excited about that. We come to these conferences wanting to convince shareholders that we've got a pretty special address there. You just don't hear about it.
And you've recently had outstanding years out of Lady Herial. Can you talk to that and why it's so important?
Look, we found Lady Herial. It is quite small and modest. We've never over-promoted its size. It's about 16,000 ounces, but it sticks out of the ground. The strip ratio is 6-1. Our major shareholder, Goldfields, owns a plant right next door, 5 kilometres away, that's not full. And we've managed to take it from first drill hole to yesterday was first blast. We are now a gold producer in under 20 months. That's a pretty significant achievement. It is small. It's only going to be mined over the next 6 to 8 months, has the potential to put $45 to $50 million in our bank account pre-tax at the current gold price. So very significant day. When you and I meet, David, it always seems to be a significant milestone. This is a really positive one.
Where does the next phase of growth come from?
We put some results out this week before the conference. We've got clearly line of sight on a cutback at Lady Herial. So while the current pit is small, the one that we're mining currently, we can push that back, and we're very confident we'll get hopefully about the same amount of metal again to northwest. In parallel, buoyed by the cash flow that's coming, we're being pretty aggressive on all of our other targets. We are looking for things that are going to move the dial. We kind of recognise Lady Herial is small, maybe not too sexy for the investment community. We think we're on a pretty special patch of ground. There could be something significant there that really does move the dial. So lots of small things to follow up with Lady Herial. They're going to be very cash generative, but the real prize is to hit something significant in the middle of St Ives.
Where's that cash going?
The cash? Well, we're going to, off that 45 million, broadly speaking, subject to the board, we're going to deploy a lot of that into that third dimension. I'll present later today. I'll show that there's very little data in the third dimension away from the old nickel contact that WMC drilled. So we think that's a really valid place to deploy some capital. We might talk about nickel in a moment. Wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of cash up our sleeves. If the nickel sentiment turns around, remembering our Baker mine is fully permitted, ready to go, and only has a cash pre-start cost of about $20 million. So lots of things to do with that cash. First prize, though, is to get the cash in the bank.
I want to touch on that exposure to nickel and gold. How do you balance that exposure, and where do you see the nickel market going?
Look, when we met 2 years ago, I think it was the very day BHP shut its Nickel West business down, and I had like 20 slides that had nothing but nickel on them. We actually finished all of our nickel drilling at that point. So we moved into a permitting and a technical study phase, which we completed. Baker, as I said, is fully permitted and ready to go under the state legislation. So it's an easy balance at the moment because we don't need to spend any dollars on nickel at all. So it's 100% gold focus. As I said, in the middle of the 16 million ounce gold belt. In terms of where I see nickel going, I think there's moves afoot. Early rumblings at the start of this year in Indonesia, cutting of quotas. We saw the nickel price jump quite significantly from about 15,000 US a tonne, where it's been stuck for years. It kind of jumped up to $19,000 a tonne. Surprise, surprise, our share price moved with it. There's me, spent 2 years rebranding to gold. When the nickel price moved, the Lunnon share price moved as well. There are no other ASX listed companies with nickel assets in Australia, fully permitted, ready to go. It's a population of 1.
What's the catalyst for 2026 for Lunnon Metals?
Well, look, first prize, as I said earlier, has to be the safe and efficient delivery of the plant at Lady Herial. Put that money in the bank account, reward our shareholders that have been very loyal from the nickel days by not having to have done a diluted equity raising. So as I said, $45 to $50 million from current pit. We see the next catalyst being the potential to push that bit back. But but I sound like a stuck record. The real prize, honestly, is we hit something significant, and we demonstrate that at our project in the middle of St Ives, there is a significant discovery still to be made. Nickel on top.
Tier 1 jurisdiction, looking at early cash flow, exploration upside abounds. Exciting times ahead for Lunnon Metals and its shareholders. Ed, thanks for your time.
Yep, look forward to seeing you again next year, David.